I remember when you and I were sitting in Brookfield Place here in Manhattan downtown. We looked at ourselves in the eyes. I remember it was sunset, and we said, we're going to do it 99. We are going to remove the uncertainty. We're going to remove the doubt. And whatever it takes, we're going to do 99. We didn't say, oh, we're going to do one and then we'll see how it goes. Oh, we're going to go 5 and then we'll see how it goes. We committed to a goal. We committed to an output and we said, let's roll. And from there, it was a lunch and iteration process instead of waiting to be perfect, like in true Google spirit.
Yeah.
We didn't say, oh, we're going to record this episode, edit it a zillion of times, and then eventually we publish it. So one of the lesson here is, if you want to do something in life that you enjoy doing and you know you're going to be happy from it, just roll with it.
Welcome to 99 Humans. My name is Jeff Lakusta, curious coach and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, striving to understand how little things generate big impact.
And I'm Nadia Carta, tech executive and lifestyle coach with a mission to transform lives and corporations by kindling hearts to generate a zeal for life.
Each week, we investigate stories about the human side of leadership to re-energize your spirit and help you become a stronger leader.
Because the reality is that leadership is messy, goofy, challenging, but always human.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Let's dive in. Hi, Nadia.
Hey, Jeff.
I'm excited about today. Today is a special episode that is our 50th podcast launch. So we're going to shake things up a little bit. But first off, how are you doing?
Oh my God, I am running on high energy this Friday. Couple of things happened that we can talk about. And I really wanted to spend time with you reflecting on what we did this year, because I feel that you and I are so type A that we would run. And I'm like, you know what? It's good. It's good after you did something really hard to pause and reflect. And so I'm excited about this reflection with you today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has been a journey. It has been a hard journey. We didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And now we're sitting at 50 episodes live, more episodes, already recorded that are ready to go. And I think we've gotten better. That's my first reflection is, okay, we kind of know what we're doing now. And I can tell a difference between episode 1 and here at episode 50.
I'm very curious to ask our listeners if they see the
Maybe we're the
difference.
only ones that think that.
I see so much difference, Jeff, and we can probably break this conversation in almost like 3 areas, right? Like one is how you and I developed as co-hosts and speakers. When you and I started this, none of us had any experience on how to host an interview. I mean, sure, we're coaches and we've been working in tech, but it's a little bit different. So that's one area where I really saw a massive evolution. And then the second area is probably the more technical part about running a podcast. You and I never spoke on the show about what does it even mean to find guests? How do we manage them? And all the editing and processes behind running a podcast, which when we started, we knew zero. And probably the third thing that I would love to talk about is the marketing of a podcast. I think I processed and learned that having great content is not enough. I mean, I love our episodes and we get 5 stars, and a lot of people tell us that we do high quality, but that's not enough, and what to do with it. So for me, those are 3 areas that I wanted to kind of talk about with you. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think on your first topic, just to kick it off, learning how to host a podcast, that brings me to the very first clear lesson, which is our experience with coaching is extremely helpful in asking powerful questions, cutting through what's at the surface and bringing the conversation to a deeper level, but was extremely not helpful on having like a real human like conversation. And when I teach coaching classes to new managers or folks learning the skill, I even say, if it feels like a normal conversation, you're doing coaching wrong, because coaching's not supposed to feel like a normal conversation. But you can tell we weren't having normal conversations on our first few episodes. And for a podcast, that's not really the right vibe. It's kind of stilted, a lot of quietness, a lot of, big open ended with no personal reflection injected by either of us. And while recording a coaching call is fascinating, it might not be the most, thrilling from a listener perspective. So that's one big takeaway, was all the wonderful things that coaching helped us do, but also some of the challenges that we had to unlearn and new skills to replace it.
100%. While having the tools that you and I have under our belt because of being coaches for so many years, the episodes that I enjoyed the most were those where we were bringing our personalities on, which whomever is a coach and is listening to this, you know that when you're a coach, you stand in coach position and you're there for your client. And it's not about your opinions, it's about really being a partner for the client to figure things out. Whereas in the conversation on the show, I can remember the one with G, the one with Adam, the one with Bob at the very beginning, like those episodes where we were truly like friends
Mm-hmm.
and challenging each other and sharing some expertise and vulnerabilities. Those were so interesting. Just yesterday I listened 3 episodes in a row. I listened back to Julia, I listened to Adam Coelho, and I listened to Anne Picarillo, I think you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed feeling the feelings from those humans and from us as interviewers on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's interesting just to see what skills you had to learn to replace it. And one of the things that I have been sometimes intimidated by, often intimidated by, which is kind of the name of the game for 99 Humans, is the caliber of folks that we're talking to that we don't know. We don't have an existing personal relationship with a lot of guests. And to your point, to be almost like friends in a 30, 45-minute recording is actually a skill that I think we've had to master. And you have this skill more naturally than I have, I think, where that gives you energy and that fuels you. But I found it really fun and sort of meta in terms of the show's goal to remember that everybody's a human being, no matter what my show prep notes look like in terms of their accomplishments, which are incredible always. At the end of the day, we end up talking about very human things that I can relate to, that I've got really interesting questions about. Maybe I've got similar experiences to inject. And that's been a very healthy lesson that I hope comes through each of the shows, because that is, I think, the point of the whole podcast. But to be living it, it's a very visceral lesson for me, just how human everyone is and how that makes incredible accomplishments more approachable and more energizing than to go about my leadership journey. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this is messy, but that's what it looks like for everybody. And I know that for real now.
I will say, Jeff, that I really noticed the difference when I was listening to the episode that you recorded with Anne that I couldn't attend, sadly. I felt you so much. You were almost and best friends. Like it seemed that both of you knew each other for ages.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's, I think, something that is kudos to Anne, kudos to the guest, right? They're bringing their whole selves willing, but that's a skill. And I think it's something that I've learned is a learnable skill, like all of them, but they don't always seem that way. To me, some of those things seem more like personality traits. And I'm learning that's like one of my like catches. When I think something's a personality trait, I need to catch myself and go, nope, it's not. It's work, it's experience, it's these things. I can get that as well, and emulate or use some of those great traits that I love out there.
What a beautiful growth mindset you are displaying. One thing I want to mention in relation to becoming great hosts and interviewers, and I will say also communicators.
Mm.
I found one of the episodes where I was a guest in another show probably 2 years ago. And by listening to it, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, wow, Nadia, how far you went. So our listeners already know that I'm Italian and I learned English that I was 25 probably already. And I learned to speak podcast probably type of English last year. So public speaking has always been one of my biggest passions. And I've always refrained myself from jumping a little bit more because I always felt that my accent and my English spoken was not good enough. And I was judging myself. And I had a lot of those filler words. I'm not afraid of saying it. I would be saying, like, mm, mm. Which for a woman in leadership is something that drives me also crazy because I want to show up as prepared. I want to show up as my content is bottomed up and everything. And what I noticed, Jeff, that is mind blowing, I listened to one of our first episodes and then one of the last. And I rewatched myself on video, and a lot of the public speaking that I do, it's day and night.
Mm.
And here's what I want to say as a tip of advice for people that are listening. The act of re-listening myself from the shows, that allowed me to fix those communication areas that I wanted to be better on. Removing the filler words, being more confident, my tone of voice. Oh my God, I remember one of our episodes, I felt I was quicking all the time. And now I'm able to draw into my power voice from my chest and coming up more confident. And that helped me so much at work with all of my executive meetings and in my public speaking. So net this has been such a great experience because it really taught me some hardcore skills.
I love, there's so much of what you just said, but first off, you are a very gifted public speaker, and sparking people's zeal is something that I know you're passionate about. And that's what makes public speaking such a great vehicle, because you're able to communicate that emotion and lift people's spirits with your voice. And I think it is something that you've gotten quite a bit better at. And you mentioned something that you have also become passionate about alongside 99 Humans, which is joining other podcasts, like you mentioned briefly. And I wanted to pick your brain on what are the differences between hosting a podcast and being a guest on a podcast. Any tips there?
Oh, wow. What a powerful question, Jeff. Let me think. I have been in shows that I loved being with my host, and I have been in shows where I felt it was more of a transactional experience.
Hmm.
Let me unpack real quick. Both times I had a good time. In the situations where I connected emotionally with the host, this was Matt when I went on his show, the Life Shift podcast. Matt was able to create for me an environment that was so safe and so cozy that when he was asking me very deep questions, I felt that I had permission to answer. Mind you, and if you all want to listen to this episode, this is on Spotify. I also have a label, so I'll be happy to share. But Matt was asking me very tough questions. Like we spoke about my mom death. We spoke about me escaping the Jehovah Witnesses. We went really hardcore
Mhm.
on tough stuff. And because he was asking those questions with love, and mind you, it was not my friend. I've met him for the first time on the show. So that really allowed me to lower the pressure on myself. And rather than performing, I just was.
Mm.
So this was I still have a memory of the interview with Matt as one of, I did 26 guests showings this year, and I think this one was one of the best, together with the one that I did with Adam Quell. I really loved that episode that I recorded with him on the Fire podcast. And here's the thing that I'll say, Jeff. You and I love talking.
Yes.
And we are also trained by our corporations to talk less because we're managers and we love listening. So right now I've reached a point that I can listen in silence to a person without saying a word for as far as even 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I did a coaching session from my Uber yesterday when I was driving back to the airport. This person called me at 10.
Oh, I thought you meant you were coaching your Uber driver there.
No, 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 no. No, 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 no. On the phone. I didn't say a word for 17 minutes.
Yeah. And that sometimes is what people need, but those are funny ones where then people, I'm sure, go, that was amazing. Thank you. I'm like, well, I didn't really do anything. I just
Right. And so, but bringing this back to the question you asked me, sometimes now when I speak for a 5, 6 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pause. Right.
Mm,
But if I'm a guest, I'm supposed to say something. So
yeah.
I've been threading this very fine line between the amount I speak and between the amount I listen. And here's the closing sentence on this piece of thought. I started receiving so many messages, Jeff, of people that say, I can't stop listening to your voice. And I got a reaction that was unexpected, Jeff. I never liked my voice before.
Mm,
I always felt that when I was speaking in English and recorded, that was a little quirky and that was a little weird. And all these messages of now people saying, I can't stop listening to you and I can't stop watching you. My self confidence went to another old level.
which is, it seems, part of the secret as well. So, like tapping into that self confidence, and I mean, you deserve to have that self confidence, but we don't always acknowledge and give ourselves that permission. But then stepping into it, it feels like you've come alive, which is amazing. It's interesting. One of the maybe the last reflection on this piece, then we can move to the mechanics of running a podcast. But your comments remind me of an interview I saw Oprah give, who is, the best in the business here. Um, and she mentioned that something that every single one of her interviewers has in common is that they all finish their interview with her and then look at Oprah off camera, not recording, and go, "Was that okay?"
Mm.
And there's always that insecurity, always that kind of desire to know and feel validated. And I think in a very small platform compared to Oprah's, the 99 Humans version of that has been that it seems all of our guests, no matter how incredible they are, start by going, I don't know if I have something to share. And you go, I don't believe that. I think everyone has something to share, but let's see where we go. Let's see how this goes. And then, you end up in the most incredible places that you never expected. Sometimes the guests never expected. And I think that that's a common trait, that sort of, here we are as hosts, mustering up courage, remembering that the other person's human, going, okay, I can be a good host here. And the guest is on the other side, also nervous, going, gosh, I hope I say the right stuff. I hope I go. And I think that's also like a beautiful parallel emotional state to remind ourselves of, because it's one that exists in business meetings, on earnings calls, in performance development conversation, right? Both sides of the equation are often going through very similar emotional states, but we forget that. And to your point, what your best podcast hosts have done, and I guess your best leaders as well, is held space for you, listened, asked good questions. Interesting just to see how common those things really are. Very human pieces.
I mean, isn't it the game eventually to connect with humans on an emotional and personal level and create value out of it? What I want to say is I don't want to underestimate the importance of preparation and technical skills applied. I can see the difference. I see that as soon as I started practicing more with my voice, connecting with my breath, really bringing those technical abilities into the show made me a better interviewer. I'll say one thing that I adore about you, Jeff, your voice. Oh my God. Every time I listen to one of our episodes, I pause for a moment and I reflect and say, geez, Jeff got to do this as a full time job.
Nobody likes their own voice, like you already said, but thank you. My
I
husband,
love
now
your
he's the
voice.
radio guy. He's got a great voice. Maybe there's a voice thing between the two of us.
I think you're selling yourself short. And I'll say that now I love my voice too. So I want to counteract that. I really freaking love listening to myself. That's a bit
I
narcissistic.
love it.
I love yours because even when I listen to our jingle, you bring, here's what I love about your voice. You ground me. When I listen to you asking the questions and it's your tone, I don't know what it is, your accent, I don't know, but it's almost like you're holding me in the episode. And that makes me feel so good.
Well, I would like to give you a nice voice hug through the podcast whenever I can, Nadia. Well, that actually your comments transition us well into what are the mechanics? What are the tactical tips? Because voice is one of them. Equipment. What was it like for us to maybe go on this journey of creating a podcast from nothing? I'll pick up on something that you said, which was very hard for us at the beginning. But you mentioned some of the skills you wanted to get better at in practicing. The filler words, just to pick that one as an example. The beauty and the first step, as we all know, to get better at something is you got to have that awareness. You went in with the intention of practicing and smoothing out those corners that you didn't like. And with practice, of course, you got better at it. You noticed improvement. You tried some things, they worked, tried some others, I'm sure they didn't, and eventually found your way. It was hard, I think, to do that with a podcast because there wasn't a lot of awareness about what we were bad at, what we didn't know. You only know what you know. And I think that was a good example of, okay, how do we get better at something with absolutely no idea what we're doing? It's a little easier to get better at something when you have some experience and you go, okay, I know I want to improve these areas. And we're like, I don't know, let's do a podcast, but we've never done one before. Yes, of course, we listen to them, but never as somebody thinking about creating one. So I thought that was an interesting piece of mechanical was there's some amount of we had to get a few reps in and then we had to do our reflection to make a list of intentional things we wanted to get better at. But something that I love about the two of us, we're like, well, kind of fuck it. Let's just jump into the deep end and we'll figure out what we need to get better at once we're swimming. But there wasn't, as much preparation as we put into it, and I don't want to undersell that. A lot of it was just we decided we were going to do it and we started doing it. And that then allowed us to figure out what we needed to get better at.
100%. This brings me to a big learning that applied to this podcast, but it also applies in life. I remember when you and I were sitting in Brookfield Place here in Manhattan downtown. We looked at ourselves in the eyes. I remember it was sunset, and we said, we're going to do it 99. We are going to remove the uncertainty. We're going to remove the doubt. And whatever it takes, we're going to do 99. We didn't say, oh, we're gonna do one and then we'll see how it goes. Oh, we're gonna go five and then we'll see how it goes. We committed to a goal, we committed to an output, and we said, let's roll. And from there, it was a lunch and iteration process instead of waiting to be perfect, like in true Google spirit.
Yep.
We didn't say, oh, we're going to record this episode, edit it a zillion of times, and then eventually we publish it. So one of the lesson here is, if you want to do something in life that you enjoy doing and you know you're going to be happy from it, just roll with it. Because and again, that applies to everything. And the reason why that is important is because if you wait for the situation and if you wait for everything to be perfect, if I wait to speak like Oprah, if I wait for my equipment to be like Lewis Howe, if I wait for my content to be like Mel Robbins, I'm never gonna do anything. And then I look at those profile like Lewis Howe, that is my dream podcast host. I dream about going on his show. Hey, Louis, can you please call me one day to be
Putting
on
it
your
into the
show?
universe.
He's been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So I really love that you and I went with the spirit about let's roll with it. And I tell you what, Jeff, I personally believe, and I'm sure, that this attitude that you and I had on 99 Humans helped us in having an amazing working relationship with our editor, the amazing Chinomso, have an amazing working relationship with Molly, our incredible guest speaker, guest manager, and also with our guests.
Hmm.
I know of certain podcast hosts and guests that they are so into the editing. So, everybody, if you're listening to this today, we do very small edits on the 99 Humans show. It's what we record. We try to keep it natural, try to keep it authentic. Now, could it be more polished? Could it be better? Yes, but I don't think that that's the product we're interested in. It's called the 99 Humans. So I think that attitude, Jeff, for you and I, like deciding that we wanted to do it, the goal, non-negotiable, and then rolling with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the first things we learned when we started rolling with it, you touched on, but I'll put a light on, which was we needed help. We found very quickly that the process of managing guests and of preparing episodes to be ready, even though we do very light editing, we don't have those skills. We could learn the skills. And I actually remember, and you may remember, one of our first episodes I edited in Barnes and Noble on their public Wi-Fi, and it took me, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours, if I'm honest, with a coffee sitting. And I love sitting in Barnes and Noble, so it wasn't a pain, but that's a time that doesn't exist very often. So to line ourselves up where that's the requirement, even if I got better at it, faster at it, there's people who are truly gifted at this, and Shinamzo is one of them. And enlisting his help was a gigantic relief of letting us focus on what we love. And the same for Molly. There are a lot of logistics because it's at least 3 calendars moving. It's yours, mine, and the guest at the least. And those things happen, and who needs to show up where and when and how long, and how do we prep them so they know what to expect, but not over prep them so that we fabricated a whole episode. There were a lot of details there that I think we knew it would be a lot of work, but it turned out to be even more work maybe than we thought. And Molly has been a huge help, again, letting us focus on what we really love, and letting other people really shine. And hopefully we're helping those folks get more business as well by being a part of this show. But that was one big mechanical upgrade to what it's like to run 99 Humans, was realizing that maybe we could do it alone, but we wouldn't enjoy doing it alone.
I love that you summarized it that well. What is a thing that you can do and you would not enjoy doing, and how can you get help for it? And this applies also to work all the time. We could be doing everything, we could be doing a lot of things, and sometimes we push ourselves to do it even if we don't enjoy it. Whereas It would be far better off to find people that actually love doing that thing and work with them on it, and eventually focusing our strengths into doing something we're talented on. So when you and I had that conversation that I remember very well and doing the whiteboarding, I think I have the paper still somewhere. We said very quickly, we said we need a team. And one reflection there is you and I are corporate people.
Hmm.
We've been corporate people for, like, I'm not a solo entrepreneur. I'll say that. And for me, realizing very quickly that working with a team would have brought me further. In this case, the team is Chinamso, Molly, and you, like the four of us, was a very big realization. Now, I want to recognize our privilege. We fund 99 Humans all from our pockets. We invest on it every month. We don't have advertising on it. We don't have Patreons. Maybe we can think about other models, but we decided that we wanted to focus on the quality and developing this gem and all of it. And so we had the privilege to tap into our personal resources, so that allowed us to bring into the fold also those experts. But this realization was big.
I want to add to the comment about our privilege, which is absolutely true. And because I think there's two versions of that takeaway. One version is, well, lucky them, wouldn't it be nice? And the other is, I have made very intentional decisions, as I know you have, to put ourselves into a position where those resources are available so that we can pursue our passions. I think that's a really interesting path that doesn't get enough airtime. Is what do you love to do? I love to write. Could I make a living writing? No, not right now. Not if that's all that I did. If I had no other income, it's not possible. But can I make a living doing something else that provides resources to accelerate my passion, to let me get closer to it, to do things like this? Absolutely. And that is such an amazing, wonderful part of it. So it is a privilege and an intention of ours that we have resources to be able to do things like this. And I just want to say that because I think there's a lot of people out there who have passions that may not provide the quality of life that they're looking for. And it's a word of encouragement to that's okay. You can still pursue that passion. You should and do something else because this is something that fills our buckets up. And it uses some of the wonderful resources of our actual corporate jobs and lives over there. So I think there's an encouraging message there, as well as, of course, one of gratitude to have that privilege.
I really like it. Thank you for picking that up. If you're going in that direction, I will add a couple of things. We spoke on the show on how I believe in the law of attraction and how by keeping your vibrations high, you attract more of what is meant to you. So when I think about what happened with 99 Humans, do I dream about hosting full time? Oh gosh. I mean, having what Oprah has or having my own studio with all the lights and hosting people in person, I dream that, Jeff. It's something that I've put in the universe and I manifest many, many times. And like Jay Shetty and all of these others, it would have been crazy to think about the one day I would wake up and be Jay Shetty.
Yeah.
I need to think about where can I start. And so what I love about you, what you said, is by identifying what you love, you get better at it. You start iterating. I love public speaking, for example. I started iterating so that when it's going to be the right time, I'm sure that I am going to receive an opportunity. There's actually one person that I want to mention. Her name is Sil. She was a former Googler. Now she has her own company, and she just started hosting the news for Brazil
Wow.
from Manhattan. This was one of her dreams ever, and she landed it. Like TV. I'm talking about TV. She's on TV, a TV host. And so she's such an incredible example that by pursuing your passions and by giving space to what you want to achieve, you'll do that.
Absolutely, Nadia. I think that brings us to the last point, which is marketing. And I'll start with a question to you. Is it true that if you build it, they will come? Is it that easy?
Oh, marketing, 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 Jeff. I had to stop looking at the stats very quickly. If I were looking at the stats, probably I would have not recorded any more shows. I
What can
mean,
I ask you what it felt like? Like we didn't prep this, but when you looked at the stats, what were your feelings?
um, I'm very realistic, Jeff. I didn't take it personally like, oh, no one likes our show or this is crap. Absolutely no. I have the very good understanding that we produce quality shows. So many people reach out to me all the time saying, we love it, we love it, we love it, we love it. And also, I want to acknowledge that we don't have a marketing specialist helping us. We don't invest marketing budgets for advertising or social media. We decided that we do the bare minimum. We post it on LinkedIn, we post it on Instagram, we tag people, and also those social platforms, they changed in the way they algorithmically push for content. And so I acknowledge what it is, the reality. I acknowledge what are the resources that we have available. And would I want to go viral? Hell yeah.
Bring
I
it
mean,
on.
I love the idea of going viral. Will that happen probably in overnight? No. There's so much content out there. And so I quickly grew out of it. I'm like, you know what? What I enjoy is recording in it, having the relationship with my guests, pushing it out, and then what happens happens. Right now, we're not prioritizing for views.
I think that's a good realistic thing for anyone who is wanting to pursue honestly a creative pursuit like this. Podcast for sure, but I think it applies to a lot. I felt maybe a little better prepped than you for what to expect because I have had a lot of the on the publishing side things where you work, you put a book into the world and then, it does just okay. And that was about what I expected and we've grown obviously and are doing better than I think I expected and continue to, but I really like what you said because that's the way that I have managed to lean into what I like is to A, recognize the things I'm not choosing to do. I'm not choosing to do the marketing now. I'm not we have made a decision not to, and to lean into the things that I am choosing to do. And we love pieces of this puzzle, like hosting these shows and talking with guests and the opportunities that then come because we have a platform like this. There are so many wonderful elements, the learning, the development for us individually. And I think that's really healthy for everybody to do doing something creative is don't expect it to be a blockbuster. That would be nice. But if you have that expectation, it's going to be severe disappointment. If you think episode one, book one, slam dunk, oh my gosh, incredible, retire now, and that's all that you do. That's just not how it works. I don't think that's how it works for anybody. And it makes me think of that quote, you're an overnight success 10 years in the making. I have no doubt you're
Mm,
going to have some breakout speaking opportunity. I have no doubt I'm going to have some breakout book or creative project. But it's going to be all these amazing journey and I want to enjoy that ride with confidence and appreciation for all that is right now in this moment. But yeah, I'm on my way to that for sure. But there's some additional steps that we can choose to do whenever we choose to do them that'll, continue helping us go there.
I love your quote. I will close saying, yesterday I did one of my Spark Your Zeal keynotes for an audience of 100 people and was my last one for 2023. And someone in the audience approached me at the end of it and they said, that was truly amazing. They said those 45 minutes, they flew. We were all glued to you. You were not looking at the slides one time and you were owning the room. It was amazing. You sparked our zeal. And then they said, "How many times have you done that?" I said, "Well, listen, thank you for acknowledging. I have been spending the entire year repeating this content, curating my words, curating my visuals, my graphics, my body language, how I dress up, how I look at the room, how do I engage with the room. Those 45 minutes that you see there is the result of hours and hours and hours. So I really love what you said. You are an overnight success built in years.
Yeah, that's what it takes. I love that. Well, congratulations, because like 99 Humans, Spark Your Zeal has come such a long way in 2023. You should be so proud of what you've created. I feel proud of what we've created together. And it was so nice to spend a few minutes reflecting on this journey. So I
Mm.
can't wait for episode 51 to come next week. And any last thoughts?
Well, my last thought is happy birthday because it's 1 year of 99 humans. And if you're listening to this, dear listener, give us 5 likes, share this episode with someone. We are extremely thankful for your love, for your following, and for sharing with us that you love us and that you like us, because that keeps us going. And we are very excited for the ride till 99 that is going to keep all 2024 going. So, Jeff, I'm really grateful that you chose me to be your partners in this project, and I'm excited for what's next.
Me too. Thanks a lot, Nadia. Thanks, everyone. Until next time.
Bye. Ciao.